They're all quite hungry. They're really, really hungry. And I think maybe they're going to go even faster tomorrow. Even if she is in the lead, they're going to go faster and faster and faster to try and catch her.
It is a very small and mighty field. And just a word on Wiesbaden, because it is a really quite unique location.
I would say any eventing fan needs to come here, like once in their lives. It's like a bucket list eventing fans place. It has to be. All that shopping, there's international dressage, international show jumping.
Well, it isn't just us here in the studio. We will be, of course, bringing you all of the action. But Charlotte is getting a huge amount of atmosphere down on the ground. And it really is hotting up just ahead of the show jumping in a few minutes' time.
Nicole, thank you. Yeah, things really are hotting up here in every sense of the word. I'm kind of wishing I bought a hat. The sun is beaming down here on this beautiful arena. As you can see, the stage is set for phase 2. Now, Ingrid Klimke, the clear leader, with a fence in hand. But as we know with show jumping, anything can happen. I'm going to be grabbing the riders throughout the competition to find out their thoughts on the course. Also going to be doing a course walk shortly to give you an idea of just what kind of challenge these riders face.
The leaders coming forward as well. Ingrid Klimke well out in front. But one of the exciting things about the Event Rider Masters series is our work with technology giants SAP. Let's look a little closer. And there are so many brilliant ways for you guys at home to get involved in the Event Rider Master Series. We'll hear about them a little bit more. But in terms of fan engagement, Mark, it is really leading the way in terms of how everybody at home watching can get involved in the sport.
Well, it was interesting with the scores this morning, wasn't it? That how they were doing all their SAP, and they were virtually in line with all the judges. And I think it gives real involvement, and I think it's the way forward for a sport that actually people need to engage. And this series is the way forward in a modern thinking. You know, this is what the sport needs.
Modern thinking way of sport. Well, let's just find out a little bit more about them with Echo ratings. Over to you, Sam.
Oh, Nicole, we are just recovering here from an incredible morning this morning. Our Fan Engagement League. Look at the flags here. Look at these international players that we've got racking up all these points. How are they getting fan engagement points? It's coming in the Stacks app. We had some Stacks busters this morning, Nicole. We know about those. Ludwig's Pheasantstall, people thought he'd go below 30. Janelle Price, they thought he'd do better. And Sarah Cohen actually caught a few people off guard as well by being in the 20s. They thought she'd be higher than that. So that's in the Stacks. All those show jumping questions there, ready to go. What a phase that's going to be today. Spectator judging, you can still get in there. Which fences do you think are going to be the most influential on that course as well? That's an important one to get going. Of course, we have our all-important charity as well. Hannah's Wilbury Wonder Pony charity. That's a big one for us eventers. You're going to see those teddy bears going around that cross-country course tomorrow, but get involved now and please do donate. Speaking of that cross-country tomorrow, all the trackers, the data that we're going to get coming in tomorrow, speeds going around that track, that is going to be so important tomorrow. We know about that at Wiesbaden. So yes, so much for everyone to do at home. I hope you're ready for the show jumping, but get on those apps now and start getting those predictions in.
Well, there are so many ways for you guys at home to get involved, but let's just take a moment to reflect on this morning's dressage, because Mark, Event Rider Masters dressage record, absolutely not just beaten, thrown out of the water.
Out the park. Yeah.
And we'll take a few looks at her highlights, because she came in first hole, said to the judges, I mean business.
It sort of set the seal on the whole test, really, that first hold. And it was the way she then came out the corner for that first medium trot and sort of just revved him up and was like, and then another a sort of an 8.5 halt. But this is where she grabbed all the marks through the details of the halts, the transitions, and how she just attacked. And I know in the interview that Charlotte did with Nick, he used the word brave, and she questioned brave being a weird question for dressage, but it is. You do need to be brave, and she actually was brave, took risks, and got away, and well calculated risks, which she completely got away with,
and
the judges rewarded
it.
Absolutely,
they paid off, didn't they?
I don't know how many 10 she ended up with.
2, I think. 2. A huge Event Rider Masters dressage record, 16.4. So Ingrid Klimke is the one to beat. She was top of the podium last year. The German crowd would dearly love another home favourite to take the title. But it isn't just Ingrid, because in second place, Julia Krajewski, Samurai Duto, 21.0, also a very, very good test.
Well, she was only 0.5% off beating the record with herself. That flying change was just amazing. I mean, Julia, I'd like to speak to Julia and say to her, could she have done anything more? And I doubt she probably could have done maybe a little bit with the halts, a little bit, because we're into the fine detail of the halts could have been squarer, but those flying changes were world-class flying changes. And a little bit here, you could see it was a fair halt, but it wasn't quite the 10 that like Ingrid got, but that was a 9. When we saw her, I thought, how do we beat it? And Ingrid came in and went like this,
Ingrid certainly served it up to her, and those two have been playing a little bit of cat and mouse all season. One beats the other, then the other one comes back. So Julia hot on Ingrid's heels, but you had a bit of a personal favourite in the dressage, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Louise Reimacher and Waikiki.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know Louise. I haven't seen Louise on my radar sort of thing, but I just thought she came in and was just, this horse is stunning, and it's so athletic, and it's just beautiful, and I could see this being a proper dressage horse. I can only see its feet at the moment, but you can see its feet, actually, how active it is. And it was just the way she comes to ride these flying changes, like that. Like classic on the marker, on the line where it should be, within such, and this at the beginning. Just beautiful.
And so Louise currently sitting in equal fourth, actually, with Tim Price and Westcote, who are on the podium, and Jardy last year in third. Michael Young star connection with the horse that he won in Jardy in 2017. So it really is a top-class field. Show jumping, just quickly, Mark, we're going to start looking at that in a moment. It's going to be influential. Any pole, costly.
It is, and also there's a big environment out there, isn't there? A lot of the jumpers aren't used. It's like a football stadium. And
it is.
The German crowd are a very enthusiastic crowd. There's no quiet, there's no shush, there's somebody riding. So again, if horse slightly stage fright. But I think doing the dressage this morning plays into their hands, that the horses have been out.
Well, we will watch this space, because that huge show jumping stadium, the venue for the show jumping. Let's go down to Charlotte and take a closer look at what is in store.
Well, what is in store? I think we've got quite a challenging course ahead of us. Luke is going to talk us through. Now, fence number 1, nice and straightforward. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's right. It's a very inviting fence. You can come off both leads. You can come off any approach you virtually want. I think it's a great fence to start off the course.
Now, the first question was one thing I want to ask you about. The shade from the trees. Is that going to cause a problem for the horses? Is it going to make it more spooky?
For some horses, they find the shadows quite spooky, right? Other horses find it quite okay and gallop through the shadows with no problem.
Okay, so it could cause problems for some. I think the first question on the course here is fence number 7. So let's have a look here. We can take a look at number 7. Now the options you've got here, you've got the planks, gappy, you've got a far more straightforward fence. Now why wouldn't you take the more straightforward fence?
Jumping the right option is significantly slower than jumping the left option. But that being said, the left option has a plank, and it requires a much more careful jump.
It's more likely to fall, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have to move swiftly on. Cameraman, follow us. Hopefully we're going to make it in time. We don't have much time, but I really want to do this last line, which I think is going to be very influential. The pressure's on. They're coming to the last fence. If they're clear, that's quite a tricky question for the last. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. We have the triple combination up against the side. Some horses might get distracted from the crowd on the side. It's also very delicate with the vertical combination to an oxer.
And what kind of stride are we looking at here?
We have a 2-stride to a 1-stride.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. I think, I think it's going to be quite an interesting test here for the riders. Let's see how it plays out.
Well, it will be interesting to see just what happens. And actually, what was bright blue skies behind us, it is just clouded over. The wind has picked up as well. The storm that is forecast to come in, hopefully we're going to get the competition finished before it does hit us, because storms here in Germany really can be quite tough. But we are just a few minutes away from the start of the action. The first horse due in the arena at 5 o'clock. They will be running in reverse order of merit. So that means that Ingrid Klimke and SAP Hailbob will be the final combination to come forward to jump. And actually, Ingrid, one pole in hand over second place, Julia Krajewski and Samurai Duteau. So we've no doubt that that order is going to change, because a little bit further down, between 4th to 10th, just one pole covers them. So any mistake is going to prove very costly. Let's take a look at the running order. This is how the combinations will be coming forward. BP Escapade, Katja Wyman, watch out for them in the jumping. Ludwig Svanestal and Stinger, 30.1, their starting score. They finished on that score here 12 months ago. And of course, Sarah Cohen and Treason, 28.3, winners here 2 years ago. Well, Louise Reimacher and Waikiki, 25.3, equal with Tim Price and Westcote. Will the show jumping separate them? We'll watch this space. Michael Young, Julia Krajewski, Ingrid Klimke, the top 3 all for the home nation as things stand at the moment. So it could be that we will see another home winner here in Germany. Ingrid Klimke is certainly the hot favourite. She is the one to beat. The question is, can anyone beat her? Let's go to Echo Racing's corner and Sam Watson.
Really interesting, Nicole, here. We talk about the importance of a pole. Ingrid Klimke has that pole in hand, but actually in Wiesbaden you need it. Only 20% of a clear round rate. So that's just 1 in 5 jumping clear. And I tell you, the All-Stars, they're not clear of this. Michael Young, he's only averaging 29% clear rounds from 14 attempts in this arena. Now, the person who is going to like this is actually our second place Samurai Duteau and Julia Krajewski. 15 times they've jumped at this short format 4-star level, and they've jumped clear on 14 occasions. So it's a huge clear rate. And I tell you, our leader, SAP Hailbob, Darren won't like me for saying this, but only 8 clears from 16 attempts. So they're only 50% clear rate in this arena at this level as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Also, Wakiki, Mark, you've liked her in the dressage. We think she's got a huge chance here as well in the show jumping, of climbing that leaderboard, getting closer again to Ingrid as well. It is going to change in this arena.
Well, we are going to go live to the arena now. Jan Matthias Granulin getting us underway, score of 35.2. Mark Ruddock in the studio with me. Mark, couple of fairly straightforward fences to get him underway.
Yeah, and he's had the second. Yeah, I thought when he walked the course, there was the first 5 were just single fences, and there wasn't really a question. I think that was just a bit flat in the canter off that corner. I was thinking that it was better for them that they'd actually been warmed up, but some of them may be tired. Getting better now, but actually the time will be quite tight, so it's about not cutting the turns. And he's gone for the plank, and then this quite square oxer in here, 2 strides down there, and just jumping quite flat.
And actually that upright coming out of the combination, maximum dimensions 1.35 meters, just goes as well.
You can see the horse just gets a little bit flat in the canter and a little bit on his shoulders
as he comes back down the final line. Now, joining us in our commentary studio with us, myself and Mark Lucas Porter, as Jan Matthias comes to the final combination, the treble combination, the big square ox out there. You can see the time penalties clocking up as well. 0.4 of a penalty for every second or part second thereof over the time means 9.2 to add. Lucas, we've just seen you out there on the ground looking at the course. What are your thoughts?
You know, I think it's a pretty tough track all around. There's questions asked of the horse and rider throughout the track. The triple combination at the end of the course is obviously very difficult. The option fence at number 7 is obviously something that the rider has to consider. The left option is obviously significantly faster, but the right option is safer and doesn't require as careful of a jump.
Well, we'll be interested to see. Most people do choose to take the Event Rider Masters planks, but that's what will we see here in Wiesbaden. Katja Weimann, one of 3 Australians in the field, now come forward. BP Escapade, 33.9 in 13th position. Equal 13th with Janelle Price-Gravine-Derev, who'll be next up.
So you can see here that she's taking the first fence off the right lead.
Is that a preference?
You know, it all depends on the horse, really. If you feel your horse jumps better off the right or off the left lead, then you would probably take the easier option.
Oh, sit tight.
Oh, hold on.
So I was just about to say to you, is she coming off that right because that first turn was a right turn?
Now, if she manages to save this, she'll be doing remarkably well. So she is getting some
She's
external
eliminated with help, isn't she?
assistance, which I think would be elimination.
Yeah.
We will get that confirmed for you, but she did very well to sit tight there for you.
She did. She did. That's
Been interesting to see that again.
that's an accomplishment in and of itself.
Well, Katja Weimann, BP Escapade, drama at the beginning of their round. She just didn't get the stride that she wanted and unfortunately paid the price. Managed to stay in the plates, but a bit of a tack malfunction meant that she actually couldn't continue on. But she's just riding in a bitless bridle there.
Yeah, that's called a hackamore, actually. And with some horses, this sort of bridle works really, really well, especially if they're sensitive in the mouth. The hackamore is a super option. Looks like she's going to jump a fence just to get her comp.
I think she is continuing on. So
yeah.
Katja Weimann living dangerously, but gets away with it and continues to put that behind her.
So at this stage, she's taking the safer option, which is a very smart move, given that she's already had a miscommunication at the third fence.
Well, Katja Weimann carrying 4 penalties for that refusal. She'll get time added on as well, and a pole down too. And unfortunately, Lucas, the wheel's rather falling off now. How do you regroup?
You know, I think at some point you just want to take a breath, get your horse back underneath you, get your horse jumping confidently, and sort of get him to the finish line, and sort of so that you're still one with your horse at the end of the track, and that you can move on and do the next course even better.
Well, you can see those time penalties really creeping up as well. 25.6 proves very expensive around in the show jumping for Katja Weimann and BP Escapade. But we'll get a look at her slightly a risky moment, shall we say, and she did do exceptionally well to actually stay on board.
But I'm curious about the outside assistance with the bridle.
Yeah, in our sport, in show jumping, normally you're not allowed to
have anybody help you.
That's right.
It is allowed, but we'll come back to that very shortly. In the meantime, let's go down to Charlotte.
Here's Janelle Price from New Zealand.
Cute. No, where's
Okay, well, next to come forwards, we'll hear from Charlotte in just a moment, having a few technical audio issues down there, but it will be Janelle Price. Janelle with Gravine-Derev. They were on an equal score to Katja and BP Escapade, 33.9, but of course a clear round would see Janelle stay in that position. Now, this is a new partnership. Lucas, how difficult is it to take on a horse that's been produced to this level by another rider and get to know them?
It's for sure very difficult. And equestrian sports in general, the bond with the horse is of utmost importance. And when you're just beginning that bond or beginning that relationship, you still don't know each other exactly as an experienced combination would. So to come in this spooky arena in this big track and do so far as great as she's doing, it's a proper accomplishment in and of itself.
Back line of the Oxerdown takes the Event Rider Masters planks, now swings left-handed to the double combination. over the first oxer. 1, 2 strides. Just rattled the second half of the oxer there, but
Did
gets
that
away
stay
with
up?
it. It stayed.
Does it walk quite short, that distance?
It is, and especially off a long gallop, you want to jump that oxer, then the 2 is very short.
Yeah. Because the first 2 have really struggled, haven't they? With it.
We're just keeping an eye on Janelle's clock, actually, because that is ticking down very quickly. It's going to turn red.
Looks like she's going to have a time fault, unfortunately.
She's going to pick up time penalties. 0.4 of a penalty for every second over the time. So that will be 2 time penalties to add to her 1 pole down. So 39.9 does hold her position, but just gives those coming ahead of her a little bit of breathing room. So Janelle Price, Gravine Darev, just see her over the first. And she was unlucky to take the second part of the Wilbury oxer. Just came down on the back rail.
In this combination, the horse really backed off quite nicely.
Yeah.
Had a rub, but it stayed in the cups, and she kept carrying on.
Well, next to come forwards, it is Peder Thompson, Horseware Nobleman. 31.9, their starting score. Peder, a double Olympic gold medalist. And this a horse, just a 10-year-old, stepped up to the level last year. But of course, Peder, extremely experienced. And just waiting for the ground jury. He'll salute the ground jury now. Mark of respect to them. Their job doesn't just end with the dressage. They're in charge of the rest of the competition before the bell. And now he has some 45 seconds to start his round. Just talk us through the start of this course, Lucas, because actually the first fence is pretty inviting and probably the smallest on the course.
That's right. Yeah, the first fence is a ramped oxer. Like I said in the course walk, you can come off both leads, the left or the right, and you can also come off whatever approach you want. If you want a short turn to the first fence or a long approach, you can really sort of pick and choose whatever you'd like.
You see, you would slightly be concerned about the pace for time faults.
Yeah, the time is
so tight.
proving to be a real factor here in this course. But that being said, there's careful jumps throughout the course, so you can't rush really any fence. One thing that you can do, like Peter did here in the from 2 to 3, is he cut the turn very short, which is one option that you can make up time without really running your horse too quickly.
Yeah.
Horse coming back there really nicely through the double.
He landed there very short, didn't he?
Short, and then he could sort of carry on
Yeah.
here to the 6th stride across the middle.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it comes up quite short, doesn't it?
It is. This horse sort of rolls nicely as it canters. It has a big stride, but also very careful at the fences. To me, this is a lovely horse.
Well, it looks like we could be looking at our first clear round. Peder Thompson need to keep an eye on the clock because it is going to creep into time penalties, but only 0.8 time penalties to add. 32.7, and he deserved that clear jumping.
Yeah, he did. He really had a great round. The horse jumped really well throughout the track. Peter rode a great round. Shame on the time fault, but overall a great round for the day.
And actually, Mark, with the change of the time faults this year, 0.4 of a penalty for every second rather than 1 penalty for every second, it is a lot more forgiving.
Yeah. Because it was punishing them too much for 1 second, 1 penalty. Because I think it was making the riders not think about the horse's jump. And now with this, they're able to think of the jump and actually take a risk of a time, like a 0.4 of a time fault. It makes all the difference. Because a year ago, it was just like that would have been, Janelle would have had 4 whole penalties.
And that would have been basically the same as a fence.
Yeah.
Well, Ludwig Vennesdahl and Stinger, they've just got underway. The second goes, and it's a rather innocuous looking vertical.
That's right, yeah. It's after a nice opening fence, then you have number 2, which is a vertical, but with that sort of cream-colored plank at the bottom. The horse might look down and then forget the poles on top, which it looks like Stinger did there.
And I think it blends into the background, that fence, as well, into the marquees.
That's also true, yeah.
You know, the horses aren't quite focused, do they?
So Ludwig there taking the quicker option, but more careful. I think, to me, that's the best option. The time is very, very short, and although the plank is very careful, most horses jump that sort of white plank of the Event Rider Masters very well.
It's a shame I had that second, because it actually really can jump.
It is a horse that actually jumped clear here 12 months ago. So we'll see him coming down the final line. And just setting up for this final treble combination. 2 strides,
Oh.
bit of a hop and a skip actually, in
And still
between the
cleared.
first 2
Wow.
elements. And actually we see his time penalties clocking up as well. So 3 seconds over, 1.2 time penalties, 35.3. But he will just drop below Peder Thompson, who will hold his position as things stand. Ludwig, I think, will be a little philosophical about that.
He had actually a great round.
He really did, and he will rue that second fence because it will prove costly for him. Now it is Liz Halliday-Sharp, Fernhill by night. Combination that were actually top 10 here 12 months ago. Picked up time penalties there, Lucas. We're going to be watching her on the clock carefully.
Looks like she's coming to number 3 on a nice short turn, keeping her horse on the hind end, which is really important in the show jumping phase. This horse looks like it has a lot of scope, can jump quite a big fence.
And easily as well.
Yeah.
Looks like a show jumper.
Could jump the show jumping phase today here on Friday and the Grand Prix on Monday.
With a different jockey.
Looks like Liz is doing a great job. She do have a great round as well.
And we're just watching that clock carefully because that...
She's just been a bit steady, but it's understandable because each fence requires...
I actually think she might just be okay because she's swinging back down to the final line. Actually, she's taken quite a wide line to that final oxer just before the combination.
I don't know what you mean.
But she gets it, and she is inside
She's
the
in
time.
time.
Just Liz Halliday-Sharp gives us the first clear round. 29.2. She's guaranteed a place in the top 10 going forward to cross country. One thing is for certain, she will have her foot on the accelerator as she goes forward tomorrow afternoon over Rudiger Schwarz's cross country track. Did she make the time there, Lucas? She didn't look to be travelling too quickly. Was it just the lines that she took?
It looks like the lines that she took were obviously quite tight, but also the horse has a big stride and has a big jump, so she could sort of roll on the long parts from 2 to 3.
Didn't she? Quite a bit.
She cut in on the turns, and she could sort of make time on the long gallops with the long stride.
Which you're able to do when you've got a horse that's careful.
That's right.
Well, here is the 2018 Event Rider Masters Series champion, Chris Burton, Lawtown Chloe. Can't afford a pole to stay ahead of Liz Halliday-Sharp. Now, he did pick up time penalties here 12 months ago, Lucas, which I think cost him a few places on the leaderboard.
Yeah, he looks to be quite sharp on the time here so far. He's keeping his horse nicely on the hind end. He made up time already from 2 to 3. You can see here from 5 to 6. He's making up time, but also taking his time at the fence. That's one thing that's very important. Making up time between, but then taking time at the fence.
And actually, he takes the Event Rider Masters planks on a slight ankle. He's actually brought a pure show jumper out with him to jump in some of the pure classes too.
I'm sure Christopher isn't the only one to do that. Many brave show jumpers could actually perform in all 3 phases of the event. For example, I had an old eventing horse that I used in show jumping. So some horses can go back and forth.
Well, coming down his final line, Chris Burton. The time also we need to keep a close eye on for him. Lawtown Chloe. 2 strides, gets the second of the verticals over the final oxer, and it is another clear round. The 2018 Series champion lays down a challenge for series points here, 28.3. He's guaranteed a top 8 position going forward to the cross country tomorrow. Well, next to come forward, it is Sarah Cohen and Treason, who jumped clear in this stadium 2 years ago when they actually were on their way to winning the Event Rider Masters leg here. They've not been in the best form in the show jumping in recent runs, so Sarah will be looking to put that behind her now.
So Sarah taking a nice long approach to the first fence, getting a horse nicely up to the base so he can climb over. But then taking her time to number 2, careful plank.
How annoying is that when you're disunited around the turn?
Didn't affect the jump.
No.
Sometimes when they switch off the lead like that, it can be difficult to keep your focus on the fence.
Yeah.
Slight touch on the Liverpool, but stays up.
So far, so good.
Maybe
And
less cantering on the wrong leg.
she really did move on around that corner.
She did. She stayed nice tight to the tree so she could jump this number 7, the careful plank, on a nice angle and coming down to this combination.
Good boy.
So far, so good.
We'll have Sarah in here, by the way.
Yeah, she's a firm Event Rider Masters favourite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Takes that easily. Swings back right-handed to this final line. Mark's jumping the fences with her, but she is going to have to watch the clock because that is ticking down. I think she wouldn't mind a couple of time penalties if she jumps clear, to be honest. She can make that up on the cross country.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Just the last. And
Yeah.
Sarah Cohen Treason jump clear 2 seconds over, 0.8 of a penalty. She will be absolutely delighted with that in this phase because the horse has had a couple of poles recently. Drops her 1 place, drops her behind Chris Burton. So Sarah Cohen will have her foot down on the cross country, no doubt. She'll be cross about those time penalties, but she'll be
I think
pleased
she won't
that
be.
she jumped clear.
She thought he was going to have a few.
She had a great round today.
Yeah.
Well, next to come forward, it is Andreas Allsort. And Pennsylvania, 27.4 their dressage, in 7th position after the first phase. Now, he does approach the first off the left line.
So that's right. So he puts sort of a nice bow in the line here, and then stays quite tight around that tree to number 3.
Well, Andreas clear so far. This horse has been on the podium here in Wiesbaden a couple of years ago. And this is the horse, 19 years of age, her final ever international run. Andreas would love it for a clear round here. We've got storm announcements going on in the background. We're waiting to try and find out just how quickly the storm is coming in. We're hoping it's going to just hold off for another 15, 20 minutes.
You can see just the horse taking a peek into the double, seeing where the pole is, seeing where he needs to pick up his legs to clear the fence. That's one advantage of having an experienced horse like this. They sort of know their job and sort of are a great old soldier, old partner that that can guide you around the course. Slight touch on the spook soxer, but still clear to the point to this point.
Well, just touch and go with the time, but Andreas
What a great
Allsort
round.
sneaks inside and he goes forward with a clear round, 27.4. It is clear round number 2. And Andreas absolutely delighted with that. That time, there isn't much in it, is there, Lucas?
No, there's not at all. Almost every rider is using all the time that they're allowed or just over. But that was a great round from Andreas, and he's clearly very delighted with this horse and with his performance today.
Well, it would be great to see the 19-year-old mare, who is such a firm favourite in the Allsort yard, go well in her final run. But here is Bill Levitt, Shannondale Titan, 26.0. Had a rail here 12 months ago, which did cost Bill a place inside the top 10.
One thing that I notice about this horse, Shannondale Titan, is that it has a lot more energy or a lot more bloody than Andreas's horse. Andreas's horse is obviously a very good horse. This horse has a bit more blood and a little bit more of sort of the thoroughbred type that I'm so familiar with coming from America.
It's Irish bred, this one. This is the only
Yes,
Irish
by Limerick.
By Limerick, yeah. By the others, actually everything else is completely one blood in this class. So, you're right. You're right.
And he's another to take the Event Rider Masters plank. Swing left-handed. Moves on to the double. The second part of this is maximum dimensions, 1.35 meters. Careful enough there.
Do you find riding with 2 reins, jumping with 2 reins, difficult, or do you not do it?
It's definitely something else to think about.
Yeah.
2 reins allows you to have more leverage with the horse. So with a horse that is maybe sometimes a bit strong, it sort of allows you to sort of bend them down and keep them more in your hand. Right now, actually, I don't have any horses that I ride with 2 reins, but my brother Wilton actually has his best horse, and he rides him in 2 reins.
Well, a brilliant clear round for Bill Levitt-Shannondale Titan. 2 seconds over the time, 26.8. Sees them go 6th at the moment. They hold their position. So we are into the top 5 now, and it is the reverse order show jumping. So Waikiki, Louise Reimacher, 25.3. You loved
This was
them in
my favourite
You did.
horse in the dressage. The one I want to take home, make it into a dressage horse, has the most stunning canter. So I'm hoping it has such a stunning canter, it can easily clear these fences. You see?
I love that front leg movement that he has.
Yeah, you should see it.
Jumps really,
His flying
really well.
changes were huge because of that front leg.
I think this horse could be an American hunter, an American show jumper.
Yeah.
Obviously, a
dressage horse,
great.
it could be anything. We're all going to be nicking it. But she looks like she's actually keeps moving a little bit more than the others, doesn't she? But strides are deceptive, aren't they, with the horse ground cover?
What a great horse!
How cute was that in front then? So quick.
Just brings the knees up to his nose and
that's
carries
how
on.
these flying changes like that. But you do see them. You do see them like in dressage, and you think you surely are going to be able to jump. And he's not let me down with my and he was so managed. He was so, It's the way you can open and close, isn't it?
Mm.
I knew I liked this mare before Wiesbaden, but she is definitely becoming a real favourite.
And it's our outlook to everything.
She has a great look when she's cantering to the fence, ears pricked forward. It looks like she really loves her job.
And we don't know, we haven't got any time up or anything, so we have
Coming
no idea.
down at the final line.
Oh, it's there.
And that clock just ticking down. Louise Reimacher just takes the first part of the combination. That is going to prove expensive. It drops her down to 10th. 29.3. Sneaks inside the time allowed. And do you think she was just perhaps a little bit aware of the clock, Lucas, and just
That could
unfortunately...
be. Otherwise, I would just say it's a bit unlucky. He was jumping the round really, really well. And he just nicked it coming up. But overall, great round.
Well, next to come forward, it is Tim Price and Westcote. Tim on the same score as Louise, so if he jumps clear, he will hold 4th place. Horse that actually jumped clear in the Event Rider Masters in Jardy last year.
No, he looks like he's going to get time faults already.
He could, but also this horse can also be deceiving just in that it is sort of rolling nicely throughout the long distances in the course.
And
he's quite tight there and carries on.
And he's not overly hanging, it doesn't waste time in the air, does he?
That's right. This horse also, I love his sort of impression coming to the fence. He's got his ears pricked forward, looking for the next fence.
Now, you said a little bit earlier the distance came up very short, Lucas.
Yeah.
He paid the price.
Yeah, he did. He just, it looks like he came a bit on an open rhythm, and then the two strides got very short in that combination.
Yeah.
So he's still on the same score as Louise.
He is on the same score as Louise. And then it would go down to their time on the cross country and then the time in the show jumping. So Tim Price and Westcote inside the time. So 4 penalties in the show jumping, 29.3 for them. And he'll be a little bit cross, I think, with that pole down because
Yeah.
I think he felt it could be avoided, perhaps. Well, just 3 more combinations to go, and if you feel like they're coming thick and fast, they absolutely are, because we are racing against a storm here, and the event will be closing down as soon as these 3 riders have jumped. So do stay with us, because it is all action and the pressure cooker that is coming in. German tropical storms really are quite something. This is the combination who won Jardy in 2017, 22.2 their starting score. And we were talking about riders jumping Grand Prix a little bit earlier on. Mickey is certainly one that you would see in the pure discipline.
Yeah, that's right. Michael's really an all-around great horseman, great 3-day event rider, great show jumper, and a great guy as well. I've competed against Michael in show jumping events just a few weeks ago, and I've seen him win Olympic medals at multiple Olympic Games. So he obviously knows a lot about horses and a lot about competing. So you can see there that he sort of went out to jump that that oxer on sort of a left to right angle, just so he could get sent into the turn on an even quicker stride, just to make up time without really running out his horse. So he has his horse jumping in a super nice way, nicely into the double, and cantering over here to the 6th stride across the middle.
And he looks like he's got all the time in the world. Well, we'll see whether he has in a minute, but he has.
Yeah. Without even showing anything. That's one thing that that Michael, with his experience, he can do. He can make up time without showing that he is.
Well, Michael Young, Star Connection, easily inside the time. They will be on the podium going forward to the cross country. 22.2 their score going forward, and they go ahead of Bill Levitt as things stand at the moment. So just 2 combinations to come forward, and the first of those will be Julia Krajewski, Samurai Duto. Echo Ratings told us a little bit earlier on that this would be a horse that is very much a specialist in this second phase. And 21.0 cannot afford a pole to stay ahead of Michael Young and Star Connection. You can see why he's a specialist in this phase, can't you, Lucas?
That's right. He sort of rode that course with ease, and it is not easy at all.
He's very much almost pony-like, though, Samurai Duto. He's very nippy and quick.
She calls him a pony, doesn't she?
She does.
Yeah, which it doesn't move like a pony.
No.
I think she, yeah.
He doesn't jump too much like a pony either.
Jumps very well in front, knees right up to the nose. Has a lovely canter about him. Stride, not too small, but also not too big. And looks like he's nicely rideable there to this careful plank, but then still willing to come back here to the short double on the side.
Julia Krajewski, Samurai Duto, on that score of 21.0, wants to put the pressure on Ingrid Klimka, and she found that distance absolutely fine. We've seen a few take it a bit short, but no such problems there.
Yes, Samurai came back really nicely in the 6 after she caught a pretty forward vertical, but his rideability really showed there, and he was able to shorten his stride and still clear the fence.
Like a cat.
Yeah.
Julia Krajewski, Samurai Duto, 3rd here 12 months ago, will be 2nd going forward to the cross country. And they put in an exemplary performance in this second phase to stay on that starting score. But here comes the record breaker in the Event Rider Masters series. She absolutely obliterated the dressage record this morning, 16.4 with SAP help of OLD. It is the defending champion, Ingrid Klimka. And this a combination who have jumped clear in this stadium previously.
She can afford a rail, but she's definitely...
And the first goes, so she can afford the rail. Now this is a huge... This is a huge moment in the series. The first has gone for Ingrid Klimka. She's going to be on 20.4, has to jump clear.
looks like he's now more awake, and he's hopefully going to jump clear around for her.
It's a long way round when the first goes.
Making up the time by staying close to that tree there. Taking her time with this careful plank. And cleared it.
The vol jumped that really well.
And out. Just got in a little close. Didn't give that a huge amount of room to the vertical. And that goes as well. So Ingrid Klimke, SAP Hale-Bopp OLD have lost their lead. They drop below Julia Krajewski. They drop below Michael Young. They can stay on the podium, but they've got to clear the final combination.
Whoop.
And the final Oxer goes as well. This is a hugely disappointing round for Ingrid Klimke, SAP Hale-Bopp, 28.4. She's in 6th now going forward to tomorrow's cross country, and that will be something that none of us saw coming. 3 down for Ingrid Klimke. Well, you perhaps noticed that we went through the show jumping a little bit quickly. That is because there is a storm coming in here in Germany. The event is about to be closed down, so we're going to shut down very quickly. A huge thank you to everybody who has tuned in. A huge thank you to our guests. We will give you all of the details coming into the cross country tomorrow. We go live at 15:10 Central European time. We're going to go and shelter from the storm, but we hope you'll join us tomorrow for the cross country action.